it is so clear to me that we do things because we want to do good and because we want to make the world better, um, or better for ourselves, and therefore we also step on people on the way, and we don't mean to, and so I pause and ask myself, why is it so hard for me to forgive people, that really hurt me? Um, Looking back at life, if someone hurt me, I took a step back and mourned, and then decided to, okay, let's ignore this. Let's do whatever I can to focus on something else. Let's go and play. Let's focus on my own growth and move on. And I felt like that was a healthy thing. And after I posted my, asking people for forgiveness, and I realized that I'm kind of maybe a hypocrite, or that's how I felt. I felt like I'm being a hypocrite by asking for forgiveness, but then realizing that I might not forgive everyone who hurt me. And I felt really bad about that. So here I am, in the lowest place in the world, the Dead Sea. And emotionally humbling by accepting being human. That permission to be human and permission to feel is very hard sometimes, especially when intellectually I tell myself that I need to forgive. And forgiveness is a thing, is a situation that we try to deal with, especially, on the Day of Atonement, and which is today. And I'm trying to embrace and understand the concept of forgiveness, and I'm realizing that my brain is made out of two parts. There's the believer, imaginative, emotional, and there's the intellectual, atheist, if you and analogic, I guess. And that side of the brain is the side that tells me move on, tells me focus on something else, let's go play. And the emotional side is the imaginative. It's going to start imagining the worst case scenario and be in pain, and start generalizing and saying, well, everyone doesn't like me and I'm going to always get hurt. The emotional side is going to be hurt. And I don't know if I tried, actually just, took a dip in the Dead Sea, and I'm like, I'm going to let go of all the people who hurt me before. And I'm realizing it's not letting go of all the pain. It's letting go of control, of trying to control reality and saying, I could actually change everything I feel. And let me explain. The brain evolution made us feel, and evolution made us think. And so the side that's emotional is going to be hurt, and the side that's intellectual is going to be intellectual and be like, let's focus on something else. This is not just about you. Let's move on. And Tal Ben-Shahar of Harvard University says, nature to be commanded must be obeyed. He says that we have a nature that feels, right? In this case, we feel, and we can't change feelings. My mom says, if you want to fight emotion, don't fight it with intellect, fight it with emotion. That's a very intellectual thing to say. Basically, if you're hurt, there's going to be that part of you that's going to explain, right? Shalvit, it's not just about you. It's a general thing. When I was fired years ago, I was, the emotional side was like, oh, you're just not good. And the intellectual side was, well, this is something bigger than you. It's, this job was not good for you, or that boyfriend was not good for you. Now, the emotional side is still feeling, but the intellectual side is making decisions and saying, let's be proactive, let's move on, let's focus on good things. And the emotional side is nature. So the intellectual side is like, well, we're not going to fight, we're going to explain why this person didn't really mean to, and, explaining everything. But then being active about it and finding something else that makes you happy to focus on, finding friends to move on. For me, it's creating videos that remind me that friends are important and social support is the best. And so, yeah, it's kind of what I wanted to share is that, forgiving people is not saying that it's not, it's still keeping them accountable for what they did. And it's not saying I'm not feeling pain from you. You still hurt me and I still feel hurt. I forgive myself for being human and for being confused and for not being able to control how I feel and for feeling pain. Because, evolution made me with emotions and I can't always control that. But I embrace the fact that there will be pain in reality. And my intellect, my mom says she calls it the child and the learner. So the learner is taking the child by the hand and saying, hey, let's go and do something else. Let's focus on something else. And embracing and accepting that as natural human beings, we're going to still feel pain. We're going to still feel emotions. But taking it by the hand and saying, let's move on. Let's focus on something else. Let's grow. So that's forgiveness for me. It's forgiving reality, because as long as we're going to be diverse, wonderful human being, we're going to be diverse and we're going to have miscommunications and misunderstandings. So, moving on is, evolution, the emotion is there because it doesn't want us to get hurt again. Malcolm Gladwell in his book, Blink, says that, he really shows through research that our emotions are rooted in very deep neurologic pathways that are sometimes very right and we don't understand them at the moment. But, we have that emotional side of us that sometimes we can't explain. But for example, with pain, it's, we feel pain because our brain says, our emotions want to make sure that red button is pressed whenever we're next to that person because we don't want to get hurt again. Right? It makes sense to stay away, to not get hurt again. And the intellectual side is going to be there to help us move on and focus on something else and to explain and to embrace and to tell us to fight emotion with emotion and not to fight emotion with intellect. And yeah, so here I am in the lowest place in the world. The Dead Sea. This is Jordan. This is Israel. This evening is the Day of Atonement, and I'm reflecting on forgiveness, realizing that forgiveness is a bigger term than what I thought. It's not just like, oh, I just put a white out on the pain that I've experienced. The pain will still be there, womp womp, but I would be able to move on, and forgiving myself for not being able to control everything, and letting go, floating in the salty water. And I just want to bless you all with that feeling of rebirthing, reaccepting yourself, your full self, your inner child, and your brilliant intellect, your brilliant little child also, because children, / our emotions know more than we could explain. So it's important to listen to our feelings and use our intellect to try and analyze them and then feel again. And harmony is that back and forth. I feel like I just spoke for a real long time. But I love you all, and I just wanted to share with you my insight on forgiving, and just to bless us all with inner peace, because when we're in a good place, we attract goodness around us, and we are good role models for people around us. When we're in a good place. So it's really kind of like, being in peace with ourselves, and moving on and focusing on growth and, letting go of those people who hurt us, but we don't have to be their friends. We know we're gonna still be careful to not get hurt again. We're gonna explain it intellectually and move on to ourselves. Listen to that silence. So, yeah, I forgive you all to the extent that I can. I want all of us to focus on moving on and growing and learning, listening to each other, listening to ourselves, expressing ourselves, communicating, so we could reach more inner peace and more togetherness, because that's how we move on. I wish I could, talk to all those people who hurt me in my past. There's a lot more to learn. Anyway, I'll appreciate any comments and feedback. How do you actually talk to people who hurt you? Is it important, or is it just okay to forgive yourself for, feeling pain and moving on? People! Alright. Talk to you soon. Bye.